Yo, Inca, you want to come out here? Hello everybody, welcome back to another, or the first of what will be many videos. Each week, you'll be getting a nice little MDA video. I'm sure you remember the last time I tried doing this, and I was basically gave up after the first time I introduced the teams and such. And this time I have a little bit more time on my hands to go ahead and talk about the league. So, this is your league explanation and week 1 preview. I am IncogM, or Avery for short, whichever you prefer. And let's talk about the MDA this season and what's going on. Now, to really calculate how many seasons it is, I would have to count up all the sheets that I've made and then go through it like that. But, you know, for now, I'd call this technically season 4 of the MDA, if you will. But if we wanted to really count all the leagues that I've done, I've been doing this since 2017. So I would say it's gotta be at least season 15 or so. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the league and tell you guys what's going on this season. So first off, I should say 1, this is Showdown. 2, 6v6, general, pretty easy stuff there. And we're doing Nat decks this league. Now, what's very different about this is that this is dual type. So every coach was given 2 types, and they had to pick 5 Pokemon from each. They can only draft 1 Mega, rather than doing 1 of each type would be kind of crazy. And we had some other rules that I want to explain here just for clarification purposes. First and foremost, they get to choose to ban a Pokemon every week. If teams choose not to, then that's on them. I essentially told them to build like 7 Mons, but realistically they can build 9 Mons and just see which one works out better for them. There is no terrestrialization because while this is dual type, it is technically still in that, you know, it would be harder for me to tell them, yeah, you can terrestrialize, but it's Terra Preview or everything in Terra, and you won't know until it happens. I was just like, whatever, I don't really fucking want to do all that. In addition, the first time for everything, these battles are done in a best of 3 fashion. So, after game 1, you can switch them on into game 2, and if you make it to game 3, you can switch it out after game 2. Not the same Pokemon, however. Once a Pokemon is put on the bench, it is no longer allowed to come up. I feel like it, at that point, is just like, if you lost game 1 with that Mon and you switch to another better Mon, it's not like bringing that Mon back is going to make things better. It'll just be the same-ish outcome unless your opponent is stupid, which, for all intents and purposes, I understand that that is very possible. But that's just how we're doing it, and I want to see how this goes, and then moving forward, seeing how that plays out. At least when I do Showdown leagues, because I often do Showdown, then Wi-Fi, then Showdown, then Wi-Fi. And this will probably be the last Showdown league I do for a little bit. I'll transition to Wi-Fi again for next season, and then depending on how Legends ZA goes, we'll go from there. I don't think it'll be something like where it'll have its own crazy little metagame on Showdown. I think, well, let me rephrase. I think it'll be like something like where it'll have its own little, like, you know, thing that you can play on Showdown where it's Legends ZA meta, but otherwise, I don't think it'll be anything more than that. And we'll probably see the Mons that are new to us given to us in national decks, and then we'll go from there. Megas and Z moves are allowed. Pretty standard stuff for these kind of leagues. There's no item clause. We're going by just standard smoke clauses this time around. And yeah, pretty general stuff. I want to go through week 1, tell you about the coaches, and you can look at their teams and you can vote down below. You can also join the Discord server, which will be linked in the description, as I will be doing weekly pick'ems, and in addition to that, you know, letting the people vote for who they think will win every week. And that's what pick'ems are, if you were unfamiliar. It feels like I repeated myself, don't worry. I am very tired. Regardless, let's talk about each matchup, talk about what was banned, what wasn't banned, and if I felt like things could have been banned. Maybe certain Mons could have been banned to make it easier on certain coaches. But otherwise, we can talk about the matchups right now. So, the first matchup, as you can see on your screen, is No More Heroes versus Malformed Mayhem. No More Heroes is coached by Knack Nasty, who, to my knowledge, has never been in any of my leagues. So, very, very brand new face. Got recommended by somebody else outside of the league. And he got mono ground and mono fairy, and their team consists of Hippowdon, Great Tusk, Ursulina Blood Moon, Gliscor, Enamorous, Incarnate, Garchomp, Grimmsnarl, Tapu Fini, Clefable, and Pheasantipede, while the Malform Mayhem is a seasoned coach, which is Sandy. Sandy always has a very interesting team, but this time he got Water and Flying, which I am pretty sure is very disgusting, if I'm being honest with you, based solely on the fact that getting a typing of this combination allows basically just rain to run through, if I'm being honest. But they have Salamence, Thundurus, Therian, Tornadus Therian, Iron Jegulus, Pelipper, Empoleon, Ogerpon, Wellspring, Tentacruel, Politoed, and Omega Swampert. For this first week of action, just to keep it consistent, I wish I'd put it on screen, and I'll probably do that for the upcoming ones, and I'll make some adjustments here and there. Sandy opted to ban Tapu Fini, while Nasty banned the Mega Swampert. So talking about the 9 mods in general, it feels like to me that is a very easy matchup for Sandy. I mean, having Rain and the ability to have just unlimited amounts of spamming water moves against a team that doesn't have a resistance anymore in Tapu Fini, it feels like this is going to be one of those games where Nasty's going to have to hit the ground running. I do like Sand Force into Sandstream with Mega Garchomp and Hippowdon, but unfortunately that's not going to do too much in reality. It feels like a very big Grimmsnarl sets up screens into Imagination, where Nasty might find it very easy to switch into Hippowdon at least once, dies, and then it's basically Pelipper and Politoed serving the same job to keep up Rain as long as possible. In that, I do think that this is a pretty easy win for Sandy. If Sandy figures out a way to fumble this, I'd be very impressed. But I've seen stranger things, and this matchup is definitely one where I want to be there to watch. Just because ground versus water, you can always tell where it's going, but I've seen things go differently. But with the advent of fairy types, I think that Nak is going to have to play out of his mind realistically to at least get around what I would say is a very, very hard, like one of the hardest matchups to have week 1. So I predict Sandy will win this matchup pretty handily, in my opinion. But that does it for this matchup. Let's move on to our next one, which is the Rage Fist Annihilate versus the Vegas Goldango or Las Vegas Goldango, whichever. Rage Fist Annihilate are coached by PokePrimer, a person who's been in my leagues a few times actually. I'm pretty sure he won one of my leagues as well, if I recall, but I don't know. But I'll have all that kind of stuff another day. Which is why I really want to make sure this league is consistently named again, but we took off DDL for reasons, which I relate to my good friend Brendan. Anyways, Primer has the Garchomp, the Hisuian Gudra, Kyurem, Raging Bolt, Rotom Wash, Vikavolt, Iron Thorns, Iron Hands, Tapu Koko, and Mega Latios. Meanwhile, Cog is coaching the Vegas Goldangos. I'm pretty sure Cog has been in several times in my leagues, and he's a very good friend of mine. We call him Cog Prime because he won the matchup that we had in one league that was really fun. He's my dog. He has Orbeetle, Victini, Iron Crown, Tapu Lele, Indeedee Male, Crocodile, Morpeko, the King Gambit, the Roaring Moon, and Mega Gyarados. So, for this matchup, going over it pretty easily, Rage Fist decided to go ahead and ban the Crocodile, which makes a lot of sense, and Cog decided to ban the Tapu Koko, which also makes a lot of sense. So, it's not going to be terrain wars, it's going to be mostly just how do you get around this team, because it feels like this is a very easy webs game for Cog, and with the advent of fighting something that is going to be setting up on you, it could be webs versus webs, so this could be a very interesting game. I definitely think this will be a harder game for each of the coaches. While getting rid of Crocodile is a really good idea for being able to spam electric moves, I do think that we underrate the ability to have Omni boosting moves. Like Victini's Omni boost is really good here, I think. Roaring Moon after a setup is really fucking good here too. But on Primer's side, I almost called him by his real name. On Primer's side here, that D-Dance freaking Icicle Spear Curum is really good here as well. But I think the only thing is that it's going to be basically just Psychic Terrain versus no terrain at this point, and that's going to make it very easy for Cog to spam Expanding Force, and he doesn't have a great resist. Well, I mean, Hisuian Gujo is a good resist. I won't say it is bad, and I guess Megaladios is, but in reality, a lot of these mons that do get Expanding Force would also prefer just to hit you with bullshit, so it's not like they will only have that move to spam. So this becomes a very easy matchup for Cog in the end. I think that he definitely edges this victory out, but I wouldn't be surprised if Rage Fist out here pulled off a really good W, because there's definitely a really interesting pathway to victory here. And while I would have loved to see Iron Hands week 1 max speed under Sticky Web, that's a crazy idea fighting a Psychic team, but that's just because I'm insane, and I think all of you who have watched my channel for as long as you have definitely understand that. But definitely Cog takes his matchup pretty closely, if I do say so myself. Next up, we have the Zigzagoon is great versus the Kalui. I'm gonna say it that way, Kalui Cone Phase. Zigzagoon is great is coached by Fiverr, aka, well, maybe since I'm not saying anybody's actual name out here, I will keep doing that. Fiverr has the Galarian Slowking, Glamora, Galarian Weezing, which does not have a Mystery Dungeon Sprite, the Toxapex, Clodsire, Amoonguss, Sinistcha, Ogerpon, Hearthflame, and Hydrapple with the Mega Venusaur. Obviously, they got Grass and Poison, which I think is hilarious. Meanwhile, the Kalui Cone Phase, coached by Komori, who I've known for, I've known Komori since I've probably been on Discord, probably about 2018, maybe around then. I was on Discord basically from like 2015, 2016, and I started really doing Pokemon stuff in 2017, and I knew Komori like 2018, I'm pretty sure. They were the people who put together the, I don't remember, is it the PBL? I think it was. And they have a co-coach, which is Royal. I've also known him forever now. So they were definitely some of my first draft friends, and you know, it's been a wild ride. We reconnected recently, and they wanted to do Draft League again, so we're here. Komori has Sneasler, Zamazenta, Komo, Infernape, Iron Valiant, Meloetta, Zoroark, Terapagos, Ursaluna, and Mega Lopunny, which I'm realizing is not centered in its photo there, but that'll only bug me, maybe not you. Anyways, they got normal and fighting, so really good typings, honestly. This is a very interesting matchup because the bans made sense, but I still think that things could have gone, bans could have been different. Komori banned the Ogerpon Hearthflame, and Fiverr banned the Infernape. That makes a lot of sense for me, at least, just because when you look at the matchup, I really hope that that Discord sound didn't play on my audio, but anyways, Infernape makes sense just because Fiverr is the Grass and Poison coach, and honestly, I get why you would ban Ogerpon Hearthflame going into a team that might be a bit physically defensively weak, but then I also don't agree with that. I guess maybe all the other mons are a lot easier for Komori, but regardless, I think this will be an interesting matchup. Banning the Infernape made a lot of sense, but I think that the real ban could have been, honestly, the Mega Lopunny or the Iron Valiant, as those mons put in so much work this game. And also the advent of Z moves. You have the Komo that really puts in a lot of work. I mean, honestly, Z move enabled Ursaluna is gross, and same thing with Zamazenta and Terapagos. So I don't know if Infernape was the best thing. Just because it is super effective, I understand it completely. But even like Meloetta, Iron Valiant with its coverage and its ability to just outpace everything could have been even better. But I understand why. Now on Zig's side of things, this is going to be a defensive battle for them because they drafted a lot of defensive mons. But given that Sneasler's around, you might forego the T-Spikes, but I could definitely see T-Spikes being a thing that you set up here, and then just playing to your best out, which is to be Elite Seed spamming Venusaur alongside some other deliberate choices. So it really just depends on what they want to go with. I don't think Sinistcha gets Trick Room. If it does, then that could be very interesting with the advent of Hydrapple, and obviously Galarian Slowking gets it, so you could definitely use Trick Room to your advantage here in this matchup, but I'm just going to call it, I think Komori pulls this one out pretty handily. The team, while very defensive, doesn't have enough defense to deal with the offensive pressure of Ursaluna, Terapagos, Megalopunny, Iron Valiant, Komodo, and like just everything on this team realistically. But again, I've seen Stranger Things, and who knows, Fiverr could be cooking up something really deliberate here and really disgusting, especially with all these defensive mons. And the last matchup is two of my great friends. We have Ian versus Pantros in what feels like, I don't know, man, this is a funny matchup. Let me talk about it. So Ian got the Steel and Bug types. He has the Moth duo. He did not get Iron Moth because he's Bug and Steel with Slitherwing, Volcarona, but in addition he has Celesteela, Bronzong, Archaludon, Iron Shreds, Heatran, Mega Scizor, Rabombi, and Araquanid. Well, Pantros drafted what I would consider to be one of the most interestingly odd teams in the world, but that's what he does, and he has won a championship or two underneath doing this kind of thing. He has Macargo, Tyranitar, Crustle, Cradily, Rotom, just regular, Mega Aerodactyl, Frostlass, Dragapult, Annihilape, and Gengar, and you can clearly tell that is Rock and Ghost. So the three types that were remaining, I think someone re-rolled Fire. No. Someone re-rolled Ice. Ian re-rolled Ice to get Steel. And Fire was left on the table. And I think that's it, Fire and Ice. But regardless of that, with these two teams, this is a very interesting matchup. Because it really just depends. How this can go is how much does Ian give a shit. And given the bans, this could definitely go literally either way. So Pantros was the first person to ever type. He banned Archaludon and Ian banned Annihilape. So very easy, like very, very easy bans here. Though I think that Annihilape is not the mon I would have banned. I would have banned Mega Aerodactyl, but Ian could be cooking up some crack in that oven, so I don't know. But he also might not have an issue with it because he has that damn Celesteela. And again, seeing certain mons on here like Iron Treads and Silverwing with the ability to use Z Crystals is very gross. And in the same direction, while Annihilape was banned, seeing it one day be able to use Z Crystal would be crazy. In terms of the matchup, I think that Ian has a very great shot at beating this team. While yes, Pantros has Sand on his side, it's not as je ne sais quoi great to have, just because while Tyranitar gets, obviously it gets Pursuit back and other moves are given back to other mons, this isn't the greatest matchup for it, if I'm being honest. I mean, Mega Scizor cleaves through Pantros' team if he's not careful, and you just need something just defensive enough to eat a hit and then to take it out. But with the advent of Hidden Power being around, that can happen at any turning point. But I think that Ian puts together a really solid team. Heatran being allowed and not Archaludon is a crazy one, but I get it. Maybe I don't, because now I look at it again, I think Heatran and Scizor just go drum and bass against his team. But Pantros has shown me time and time again to never underestimate him, and I think that part right there is why this is going to go great. This is going to be an all-timer. This is one of those I do want to see when it happens, obviously, but I work, so I won't be able to technically. But a really solid matchup for each of the coaches. I think that this can go either way. I think the advantages that each one has is minimal. Besides Ian having webs, I think Pantros being able to put up rocks is simple, and while Iron Treads is allowed, if Rotom's going to be the switch in every time, I mean, Iron Tread's going to have to think of something besides knockoff, because that pain split's going to hurt. Regardless, this is a very good matchup for each coach. I couldn't tell you which way it's going to go, but if I have to pick one, like I've done for each of these matchups now, I'm picking Ian, but it's a very much like a 1-0 scenario, and it could go either way, like I've been saying. Regardless, this is the Mystery Dungeon Association. I want to thank you all for watching this video. You'll get weekly videos where I run down what happened, and I will likely have footage on screen for the matchups, just replaying what had happened that week, and then we'll go into what the matchups are for that next week in my overall predictions. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and perhaps join the Discord. I'm always looking to, make the Discord even larger and hosting off-season tournaments while having new players to this and even making this into a consistent content thing. However, if you want to join the Discord, please, the description is there for you. And join soon, of course, because you never know. I could have an off-season thing happening soon, or a thing happening underneath this where we do, speed tours and such. I'm not too sure yet. I don't have all the time in the world on my hands, but what I do know is I want to make sure that people understand that this has been going on for a long time, and I want people who have never really noticed that I do this to notice that I do this for real. But I'm a pretty lax guy, and Draft League means a lot to me, and MDA is my baby. So, thank you guys for watching. Talk to you guys next time, and until we meet again, good night and good luck.